Welcome back to Enigmatic Echoes. I'm your host, Jazz, and tonight we're plunging deep, literally, into a story that's haunted tabloids, radio waves, and campfire conversations for decades. The legend goes like this. In the frozen remoteness of Russia, Soviet scientists drilled a hole miles into the earth, and what they found, or rather what they heard, was so horrifying, so unspeakable, they sealed it shut forever. A microphone lowered into the abyss picked up screams, not just one scream, but thousands, the tortured cries of the damned. It became known worldwide as the well to hell. But is there truth in the tale? Or is it another case of folklore feeding off our deepest fears? Let's get started. Picture this. Late 1980s, a group of Russian engineers pushed drilling equipment to its limits, boring down through rock and heat, chasing the unknown. At around 14 kilometers down, that's nearly 9 miles, they strike a hollow cavity. Curious, they lower special instruments inside. Temperatures spike to over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The equipment begins to fail, but the microphone survives just long enough to record something chilling. The screams of men, women, countless voices all crying out in agony. One alleged project leader, sometimes named Mr. Azkov, is said to have fled in terror, claiming that what they encountered was not natural. Some accounts even suggest a demonic figure rose from the depths, winged and fiery, before vanishing back into the black. It's the stuff of nightmares. And to those who first heard the story on radio broadcasts or in evangelical newsletters, it was proof. Proof that hell wasn't just a story. It was real, and the Soviets had drilled right into it. Now, here's where fact and fiction intertwine. There was a hole, a very real, very ambitious scientific project called the Kola Superdeep Borehole, started in 1970 on the Kola Peninsula, far northwest Russia near Finland and Norway. Scientists weren't looking for hell, they were studying the Earth's crust. By 1989, the borehole reached a record-breaking depth of 12,262 meters. That's about 7.6 miles. To this day, it remains one of the deepest human-made holes ever drilled. What they found wasn't fire or brimstone, but science. Temperatures are around 180 degrees Celsius, roughly 356 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to warp equipment, but nowhere near the 2,000 degree Fahrenheit claimed in the myth. Rocks that defied expectations, granite where sedimentary rocks shouldn't have been, microscopic plankton, fossils deeper than anyone thought possible, and pressures so intense that continuing further was nearly impossible. The project was abandoned in the early 1990s, not because they reached hell, but because drilling deeper became technically impossible and frankly, too expensive. Still, the seeds of a legend had been planted. So how did a scientific borehole become a doorway to hell in the public imagination? The tale first surfaced in 1989 in a Finnish Christian newsletter. Soon after, it was picked up by an American evangelical network. One of the earliest and most influential was Trinity Broadcasting Network, where hosts breathlessly announced the Soviet scientists had broken into hell itself. The story snowballed. The location shifted from the Kola Peninsula to Siberia, a place Western audiences already imagined as bleak and mysterious. The depth inflated, sometimes reported as 14.4 kilometers, sometimes even deeper. Temperatures skyrocketed into retellings, going from the real 356 degree Fahrenheit to thousands. And of course, the screams. A Norwegian teacher admitted later to intentionally embellishing the story when he sent a translation of a Norwegian newspaper article. His so-called translation added demons, apparitions, and details that were never in the original article. But by the time he confessed, the story had already taken on a life of its own. and then came the infamous audio recording. You can still find it online today, an eerie, looping track of tortured screams, supposedly from the depths of the well to hell. Skeptics traced it to the film's sound effects, possibly from the 1972 horror movie Barren Blood. But once you've heard it, it's hard to forget. Let's lay it out clearly. The claim: Soviet scientists drilled into hell at 14.4 kilometers deep. Fact: the real Kola borehole was 12.26 kilometers. No such Siberian project existed. Claim: the screams of the damned were recorded. Fact: no legitimate recordings existed. Circulating audio is almost certainly fabricated. Claim: temperatures reached thousands of degrees. Fact: about 356 degrees Fahrenheit was measured, not enough to melt a microphone or reveal molten caverns. Claim: scientists fled, demons appeared, cover-ups ensued. Fact: these details trace back to embellishments, mistranslations, and deliberate hoaxes. It's a perfect example of how a small truth, an ambitious drilling project, becomes transformed through rumor, fear, and imagination into something unrecognizable. But here's the question: why do we still tell this story? Why, decades later, does the well to hell echo through forums, videos, and podcasts like this one? Part of it is simple. Hell is a powerful image. For those raised in Christian traditions, it's the ultimate warning, the final horror. To imagine scientists proving it's real, that's terrifying and oddly comforting. Proof means certainty. Another part is cultural. This was the Cold War era. The Soviet Union was already seen as secretive, godless, ominous. What better setting for a demonic discovery than behind the Iron Curtain? And finally, we humans are drawn to the abyss. We fear it. We're fascinated by it. Deep caves, oceans, black holes, and yes, boreholes. The deeper we dig, the more we project our fears onto the unknown. So did the Soviets open a gateway to hell? No. The only thing they pulled from the depths were heat, rock, and valuable geological data. But the legend of the well to hell shows us something important. Folklore doesn't always need to be ancient. Sometimes it springs up right alongside modern science. A story whispered, broadcast, and embellished until it becomes almost real in the midst of those who believe. And maybe that's what makes it powerful. The well to hell isn't about what lies below. It's about what lies inside us. Our fear of the unknown, our fascination with the forbidden, and our hunger for mysteries that can't quite be explained away. Thank you for joining me tonight on Enigmatic Echoes. If you enjoyed this descent into folklore and mystery, make sure to subscribe, share with a friend, and stay tuned for more tales from the shadows. Until next time, keep your ears open. You never know what echoes might rise from the depths. Good night.